Welcome, friends, to this Silicon Slopes Town Hall, brought to you by Promise to Live. I am Dr. David Morgan. I'm a licensed psychologist and the Director of Mental Health Awareness for Silicon Slopes. And we're so glad to have you here. One of the things that we're trying to do at Silicon Slopes is just to keep the mental health conversation going. And that's what these town halls are doing. So, some of you are probably aware that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes? Who knows that? Keep your hands up if you know what year Mental Health Awareness Month started. Anybody? Shauna, do you know?
I do.
What is it?
See your slide.
Oh, he sees my slide. He sees my slide. Okay, this surprised me when I looked it up. 1949.
What?
This is the 75th anniversary of Mental Health Awareness Month. I did that math twice in my head just to make sure I didn't say the wrong number. I'm a psychologist, not a mathematician. 75 years of focusing on that, which I think is wonderful. And I love Mental Health Awareness Month. The thing that I don't like about Mental Health Awareness Month is the same thing I don't like about Valentine's Day. And let me tell you. If you are in a committed relationship and you think that you're going to be able to sustain that relationship by one day a year, getting some gifts, and saying I love you, and doing other things, then you are mistaken, and that relationship is going to suffer. Nothing wrong with Valentine's Day, but it should be Valentine's Day 365 days a year, right? If you're going to work on that relationship. It's the same thing I don't like about crash dieting, which I have been a victim of many times. I say, oh, I've got this event coming up. I need to lose 20 pounds. And so what do? I lose 20 pounds because I eat better and I exercise more. And then when that event is over, what do? I go back to my same old habits, and I stop doing that, and I put those pounds right back on. It's wonderful to eat better and to exercise more, but if you don't do that consistently, you're not going to see the benefits. And so I love Mental Health Awareness Month, but I think we should have Mental Health Month, it should be every day, right? Mental health awareness should be every single day of our lives. Some of the things, and we can do daily things to boost our mental health, and they don't have to be hard. They don't have to be difficult. These are just some things I came up with just the other day. List things you are grateful for. Connect personally with someone. Take a walk, get a good night's sleep, eat a healthy meal, practice forgiveness. You can do any one of those things once a day and contribute to your overall mental health. So thank you for coming in Mental Health Awareness Month. When June comes along, don't stop. Keep thinking about it, keep talking about it, keep reaching out to people about it. It'll make a huge difference as we continue to do this. So, and that's what we're doing at Silicon Slopes. We have monthly town halls. We have our Mental Health Momentum podcast, which has started recording, and will launch later this year. If you know of people that you think would be good for that, so we're talking to business leaders, mental health professionals. I'm hosting it. You can reach out to us with any mental health questions at mentalhealth@siliconslopes.com. With that, I'm going to introduce you to Brandy Vega. Oh, before that, rather. This mental health town hall is a little bit different than some others. There's going to be some very, very personal stories discussed, particularly about suicide awareness and prevention. Sometimes those stories can bring up a lot of feelings in people. And so there's three of us here. There's me, there's Zach in the back, and Darren in the back. We are all credentialed mental health professionals, and we're just going to be in the back. And if for whatever reason you feel like you need to say something, to talk something out, come find us, and we'll be happy to chat with you about that. So, having said that, I'll turn over to Brandy, and I'll go to the back.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here today. We're shifting from just awareness to action and accountability. And I would like just again, Dr. Morgan, Dr. Bullock, and I'm so sorry. Darren, can you guys please just stand up for a second? Take a look at these three gentlemen in the back. They've donated their time today. If for any reason at any time you feel the need to step out, have a conversation, it's really important and we encourage that. They're here for you. Please don't be ashamed if anything brings up an emotion that you want to go talk about. Okay, so please see them. As he mentioned, my name is Brandy Vega. I'm the founder of Promise to Live. I created this because I'm one of the lucky ones that got a second chance with my daughter. We almost lost her to suicide. Not once, but twice. And I shared this last time that I was here, but I want to share it again. I'm wearing this necklace today, if you can see it, and it's a rock. My daughter gave this to me for Mother's Day. And she said, thanks for being the rock. You've been there for me for 5 years. She also said, I can't wait to get old like you. And I cried, not because it's true I'm old, but it was literally the first time in about 5 years that she's expressed aging and that she wants to live and continue. And those moments make all of these moments and the hardships worth it, because you are worth it. Our words matter, our actions matter, you matter. We have a dear friend who's attended several of these meetings in the past few months. We do it every single month. And he said, I want to help you. And I said, I want your help because you're incredible. He's worked in DC. He's done a lot of things. He's brilliant. And I sent him what we were doing. And he goes, my goodness, how are you doing all of this? And he sent me these long notes. And that same dear friend checked himself into a mental hospital 2 days ago because of the personal demons that he's battling. Some of us stand up here and look like we've got it all together every day. And we battle, and we don't share that. Every single person in this room right now, I guarantee you, has something that they are carrying that is heavy. Whether we see it or not, there is something there. Here's what you have to know. You're not alone. The world's better because you're in it. We need you, we love you, you matter, there's help, there's friends, there's family, there's resources. We are here. What makes Promise to Live so powerful is that we're aware there's a problem. How many in here, are you guys all aware there's a problem? What are we doing? Da Vinci said it. He said, I've been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. We are doing, you are doing. Thank you for being here doing something. The Promise to Live is doing. I'm asking every single person sitting here, and some of you have done it, but you know what, renew this promise. It's like we talked about, it's showering every day, it's brushing your teeth every day. You can't do it once a year and think that you're good. We have to renew that. So right now, I would ask you and invite you to make the promise to live. Every 40 seconds, we lose somebody. The promise is whether or not you're struggling. I don't know if you are or if you aren't. I don't know if it took every ounce that you had to get out of bed today or not. I don't know that. But I want you to make this promise. Whether or not I struggle, if I ever find myself in a hard place, I promise to reach out. Reach out to a friend, a family member, a trusted resource like NAMI, AFSP, JED, Trevor. There's Live On Utah. There's lots of great groups. Or call or text 988. Can you guys make that promise for me right now? Can you make that? We need you. Thank you for making the promise. Studies show when you make a promise ahead of time, you're much more likely to keep it. So that simple act is action. Today is Mental Health Action Day with MTV. We've actually partnered up with MTV, and we are a part of their rollout today, and their mission is called ASK. It's an acronym, ASK. Acknowledge. Acknowledge that you or someone you love has a struggle. Talk to them and say, I'm sorry you're struggling, or I'm struggling. S, support them. How can I show up for you? How can I support you? K, keep in contact. Right now, write down 2 or 3 names. Think of 2 or 3 names at this moment that just came to your mind and your heart. Who needs you today? Who can you reach out to? Who can you show love to? Who can you check on? Keep in touch. Ask. Acknowledge, support, keep in touch. So we encourage you guys to do that. I want to also just briefly, before I introduce our guests and we move on, we have the pocket hugs. Some of you guys are new here. How many of you do not know what the pocket hug is? Okay. Before you leave, we have a pocket hug for everybody here. Okay, we want you to have this. We will give you one. You can also purchase some if you want to support the mission after to hand out as we go throughout the month. But on here, it's Promise to Live Pocket Hug. It says, when times are tough and you don't know what to do, here's a hug from me to you. You're never alone. You keep it in your pocket, your purse, your wallet, your car, your bag, we want you to remember that you are not alone. My husband, where's he at? That handsome guy in the back, stand up. You see what it says on his shirt? Need a hug. Before you leave, hugs. Hugs, hugs, hugs. He will give you a hug. We have the pocket hugs. Take one. When you make the promise to live, we give you a coin to keep and a coin to give. That is your mission this month. You are the givers. You are the doers. You are the givers. Keep one for you. Give one. We're so blessed today. I'm excited. How many of you guys are excited? Are you excited? Yes. Yes. We do want to thank the people who make this possible. It's so critical. We can't do this, one, without you guys being here, and two, without our sponsors. So our first appreciation is to Silicon Slopes, Clint Betts, and the entire team. Thank you for facilitating this and being an incredible partner. Two, how many of you loved your food today? That was good, right? Come on up. We've got Julie, who coordinated it. Julie is one of Kazarian, our amazing advisory team members with Promise to Live. Give her a round of applause. And share with us who made the delicious food today.
Okay, Carola, stand up. She and her husband own the restaurant, Mex. They own a restaurant in Provo called Mex-All, which is Mexican and Salvadoran food. And so they wanted to sponsor us today, and we loved the food, and thank you for your support.
So please go see them in Provo, Mex-All. We appreciate our sponsors on that. And our title sponsor today is the Bridge Investment Group. We are so thankful for them, and we would invite them to come up and just share a word. Is it Chrissy, or we can invite, let's have the Bridge team stand up. We have Taylor and Piper and Chrissy. So thank you for that. And then I'm going to have Chrissy just share a few words on why they chose to sponsor today.
So I'm Chrissy, Bridge Investment Group. We are in 38 states. We have 2,400 employees, and we have 7 ERGs, one of them being our Advocates for Accessibility, which focuses on visible and invisible disabilities. And we feel, in being in HR, that mental health is not spoken about enough and ignored far too much. And so we're really excited that we can partner with Promise to Live and keep carrying forward.
Please give them a round of applause. Thank you guys so much. It is important that we're able to facilitate these events. So that being said, thank you again to Silicon Slopes, Bridge Investment Group, and to Mex-All. Our speakers today are incredible. We have Jennifer Morris. She's an entrepreneur, mom, author. She wrote the book, I Will Be With You Always. She lost her mother at just 5 years old. So she'll be sharing some of her experience. We have Cos Green, who's one of my dear friends. He's probably, don't make me cry. I love this guy. You know, you have people in your life that you just love. When your spirit hits their spirit, you know, like, hey, I missed you. Where have you been? This guy is like a brother to me. I love him so much. You've probably heard his voice. When he starts talking, you're gonna know. He announces a lot of professional sports events. He wrote his Christmas book, Through Santa's Eyes, which is incredible. If you haven't read it, you need to. He's an Emcee, and he's just been a huge advocate and support, not just of me, but so many other nonprofits he's helped raise money from. I love him. Ganel-Lyn Condie, she is amazing. She's a speaker. You guys all know Ganel-Lyn, right? We know Ganel-Lyn. She hosted our show last year for Promise to Live. She's been an advocate, an ally. She's an educator. She's a speaker. She's a podcast host. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a daughter of God, and she's incredible. Thank you for being here. She lost her sister and shares her story. And then we have Jason Walton, who is running for Senate. Patriot, wonderful person, out believing in our country and believing in family. And he is here to share a little bit about his experience. And he lost his daughter, Jessica, a few years back. Around the same time, I almost lost my daughter, Kaya. And as I shared with Jason, I'm one of the lucky ones. I get it. I got a second chance, and many of you did not. And no, it's not lost on me when I say that, because I do this for your children. I do this for your parents. I do this for your friends and your husband. I do this because it matters, and I don't take that for granted. I want to acknowledge everyone who's struggled, who's lost. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this. Thank you for doing your part. We have a call to action at the end. Nobody leaves here without your coins and your hugs, so please don't leave before that. If you need it, grab it. But at the end, we want you to join us. We need you to help us push this across the finish line. We have a TV show. We have a global broadcast. We have a big event out at the Motorsports Park. We're doing these. We're in the community, but we can't do it alone. So we need you. We need your heart. We need your sponsorship. We need all of it. We need your stories to inspire and uplift. That being said, please give a warm round of applause to our first speaker, Jennifer Morris.
Okay, now you can hear me. Here we go. Such beautiful words. Thank you so much for what you said before, because you know, we are a collective human race. We're in this together, whether we like it or not. And when one of us suffers, we all suffer. And that's just part of what life is, for us to be able to work through that. So my intention today is to share part of my story, to share what I've learned through my journey, and hopefully be able to help you in some way and touch your heart and know that my intention is to, my purpose in life that I have found after all of these years, that I am able to teach people how to talk about death, how to talk about suicide, two really hard and difficult, challenging subjects, but also, mostly, what I focus on is how to heal from them, because we will all be affected either by death or, unfortunately, we will know someone, if we're not personally affected, or we'll know of someone who has been affected by suicide, someone that is close to us that we have lost. So, let me ask you this question. Why are babies so happy? Why? When we look at babies, we have a new grandbaby, our first one, and I watch him, and he is so happy all the time. Just one of the, no taxes. That's actually probably a great question. A great question. But experts have said that this happiness in a baby that I think is established by love, they feel loved, and they're perfect. They haven't had the years of trauma happen to them yet. They're these perfectly new creatures. And experts have said that we all have established our personalities about the age of 5 years old. Well, when I was 5 years old, my father sat me on his lap and he told me that my mother had died. Now, being that age, I didn't quite understand what that meant. I didn't really understand even what death was. And I kept asking the question, when is mom coming home? When is mom coming home? Because I just couldn't understand that I would no longer be able to see her. And I also asked, and what is this thing called a funeral? I'm not quite sure what this is, but after this funeral, is that when she's coming back? And with that, I walked away with two ways that I identified who I was. The first, after knowing that my mother had died, I thought to myself, well, this was the most important person in my life, and now she's gone, and I have no one to love me. And then I was 6 years old, and I went to a neighbor's house, and he turned to me and said to me, I know what happened to your mother. She died from suicide. And you know, at this time, I had just gotten used to the fact that mom was no longer walking through the door, but now I came to the realization that this was deliberate. She deliberately left me. The most important person in my life deliberately left me, and I didn't know why. So the second identity that I came up with was I'm not enough to be able to keep the most important person in my life alive. I'm not enough, and I have no one to love me. And that's the identity that I lived with through my life. Well, with that, you know, you live life. I had happy moments, but I was consumed by grief, by sadness, by devastation. And I had a stuffed Snoopy, similar to what this bunny is here, that I would carry around with me all the time. And it would bring me comfort. It would console me. It was my best friend that I would carry around with me. And during those years, you know, as a child, when someone else finds out that you don't have a mother, it was very traumatic for me to tell them that my mother had died. And if I had told you that, I was secretly praying to myself, please don't ask me how she died. Because when I tell you that my mother had taken her life, I'm now telling you my deepest, darkest secret, and that is I'm not enough to keep her alive. I'm not enough to keep the person that I adored most alive. And God has made a mistake on me. But through the years, I was able to do a lot of self-work. I was able to do lots of therapy and realized that I was carrying this shame around me for 45 years and had no idea. Every time I had told someone, I had no idea what a shameful thing that I was keeping with me. Now, one thing I think we have in common, obviously that we can agree with, is we were all created, right? Does anyone here disagree with that? We were created by something larger than ourselves. Now, whether you believe in God or energy or something more divine, we were created. And that higher power is one of perfection and one of love. And so when you were created, each one of you were created from love, and you were created by a perfect being. Therefore, that means you are loved, and each one of us is perfect already. I think so many times that we try and look outside of ourselves, something to make us happy, something to make us whole, something to make us better. But we already possess it, and we just need to remember that we already have this. You know, there is a great line that I love, and I'm sure we all know this movie. It's a Disney movie called The Lion King. And there's a phrase in there that I love to hear every time I stop, no matter what I'm doing, especially when my kids were younger, and I would listen to this line. And it was the part after Simba's father had passed, and he's talking to Simba, and he says these words, "Remember who you are. Remember who you are. You are a warrior. You are a queen. You are loved, and you are perfect just how you are already." These are things, this is how we are created, and yet we forget. We forget. So how does this happen? How do we forget that we are not these happy babies? How on earth could we possibly forget? Well, when it happens, when we have trauma happening in your life, we become so consumed with this event that has been such a devastation to us, and we replay it and we relive it day after day after day, and until it starts to become our identity of who we are. I lived my life. I am sad. I am shy. I'm not enough. That's the identity I took on because of this trauma, and I had forgotten the identity that I was created to be, that I was already whole, I was already loved, and I was already enough. Yet we forget. One thing in closing that I want to share with you is the fact that I believe we are all here for a very specific and divine reason. Very specific. Each one of us has a very unique reason why we are here. And when you can take your darkest day, your greatest trauma in this life, and turn it into one of the most beautiful blessings, you will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. That's what I have done with my darkest day, the day that my mother had died and had left. I took that day, and it is now one of my most beautiful gifts, where I now write children's books. I teach people how to heal from the loss that they've received, whether it's by death or they've lost someone by suicide, and how we can all heal together. But this, if there's anything that I would love for my few words for you to be able to remember me by today, is this. Always, always remember that you are enough in this world and that you are loved more than you can possibly imagine. And when you see a happy baby, remember and remind yourself that that's you. That's who you are. That's who you were created to be. And these traumas that have happened in your life, all they are experiences. They are experiences that have happened to us. They are traumas that are happened to us, but it does not define who you are. It does not define what you can and cannot do in this world, because you are loved and you are enough. Thank you.
Well done. Awesome. Dave, you got me on? Yeah, there we go. I can hear it. I discovered this morning that it's probably too early to sleep with the window open, because I woke up and it was like, sexy voice. Well, that went over like a pregnant pole vaulter. So, Brandy, I want to say I love you too. We've shared a lot. There was nothing better than walking back out the door today to see if they needed help carrying things in. And Adam gave me a big hug. And I'll tell you, he gives good hugs. And we don't have enough men hugging men. So men hug men. And Adam looked at me. And he said, I love you. May I suggest that we say, I love you a heck of a lot more. Those are powerful words. Last night I got a text from a friend. I don't think they meant the gift that they sent me, but it said good night, and somebody's turning off a light, and then it said, I love you. It's probably unintentional, that part, but I want you to know I slept better. Those words are so powerful. So I challenge all of us to say those three words much more often. I love you. And that doesn't have to just mean somebody in a romantic relationship. I say it to strangers and it takes them back, but I mean it because I love people. You treat people the way they can become. You see, if you treat somebody the way they are, they'll remain as they are. If you treat somebody the way they can become, they will become that person. So stop treating people the way they are and treat them the way they could become if you treated them with their full potential. Tension mounts as the last call is given. The runner tries to loosen up. In his mind, he runs the race over and over again. Set, a deep breath, bang, off I'll dash. To the crowd, the distance seems so small, but on the track, every step seems like eternity. Aching muscles, pounding heart, burning lungs. His eyes focus upon the white tape that's fluttering in the wind that stretched across the track ahead. Every movement is precisely executed. Body and soul in perfect harmony flows. He drains his final drop of energy to kick towards the tape. As he lunges across the line, every corner of his tired body aches. The crowd is puzzled because the last place finisher acted as if he won the race. But his joy came from inside, knowing that he ran with the best and finished. The only loser to him is the one who fails to get up after falling in the blocks, or the quitter who thinks he's too far behind to win. Or so he thought. Effort is more important than the gold. Struggle brings forth triumph. All races he will enter. All races he knows he will finish. And so it is with us as we enter the races of life. But because of social media, we all see ourselves as losers in that race because compared to others, we're not enough. We're not good enough. We allow somebody else to tell us we're not worthy. Never allow another man or woman in your world tell you you're not worthy of life's greatest blessings, because you are. We, each one of us, are perfectly imperfect. And we should celebrate that. Thank God for that. because you wouldn't have the human experiences you had if you were perfect. But that's how we experience joy, because we know pain. That's why we know happy, because we know sad. Because we're perfectly imperfect. So celebrate that today, wherever you are in life. Celebrate who you are. Thank God you're different than everybody else. Could you imagine 2 people like me on the earth? Thank God you're you. And I thank God I'm me. So today I'd like to share with you 3 simple principles to help you embrace being perfectly imperfect. Diet. Tom, you might want to write this down. Diet, gratitude, and service. Diet, gratitude, and service. Diet, first of all, your diet. I don't mean like girth control, like I'm constantly battling. I'm talking about mental diet. The reason there's so much mental anguish in the world is because of our mental diets. According to the National Science Foundation, you and I, the average American, will have between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those are negative. And 95% of those thoughts are just redundant of what you did yesterday. And we want to be different. Well, if you always done what you always done, you always get what you always got. So stop it. You got to think different. You need a new mental diet. So I'm going to tell you, turn off Fox News. Come on, I'm in Utah County. I said that, I'm bold. I mean, turn off MSNBC as well. I spent my career in media. I worked for the largest media company in the world. I know what they're doing. Stop it. You're just getting sucked into the clickbait. They want you divided. They want you hating. Love is the answer, not hate. Don't subscribe to that nonsense. They're winning if you're part of those statistics of their ratings. Stop it. Change your diet. Change your mental diet, and you will change your life. Stop binging on Netflix. All those things you know you shouldn't do. Change your mental diet, and you will change your life. Dial down that damn social media. It's not good for us. Why did the governor say it's tough on kids and that it's harmful? It's worse on us. Stop. Reduce. Go on a diet. Reduce it. I don't know. Instead of 8 hours of screen time a day, try to take it to 4. Number 2 is gratitude. The more you give thanks for, the more you'll have to give thanks for. The more you give thanks for, the more you'll have to give thanks for. It's the attitude of gratitude that will get you out of the slump. See, when you dwell on your problems, those 60,000 woe is me thoughts, you will put yourself in a hole no one can dig themselves out of. Be grateful. Balance those 60,000 thoughts with some gratitude. Because those gratitude statements, that gratitude feeling will do more to change your day than anything else. So wake up every day and be grateful that you woke up. I'm being totally honest with you. I wake up every morning and I look over my dog, Sweet Koa. I'm grateful I just woke up. Every day is a blessing to me. And the last principle is service. Because the fruit of gratitude is love. I believe that's the great mission of life, is to love others. That's hard sometimes. Love my neighbor. Do you know my neighbor? You met my neighbor? I know some of your neighbors. That's hard. But when we're grateful, love wells up inside of us. And then the only way to let it grow is to give it away. A bell's not a bell until you ring it. A song's not a song until you sing it. Love wasn't put in your heart to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away. It's the only thing that you can give away that grows. Kind of like an Adam hug. He gives you a hug, you squeeze him, and you're like, man, I didn't even know there was a gun show in town this weekend. Oh,
I did.
you do. Go find out today on your way out. Get an Adam hug. But service, give it away. Find something bigger than yourself. Some cause like C-A-U-S-E, some cause outside of yourself, where you can serve and make the world a better place. Once a king had a highway built for the members of his kingdom. Before it was open, but after it was completed, he decided to have a great contest. And the contest was to see who in that kingdom could travel the highway best. Well, on the day of the contest, the entire kingdom showed up. Some women had new hairdos, some brought fine food, some people drove new chariots, and some young men even showed up in track clothes and ran along the new highway. And as each one came to the end of the highway, they complained to the king. They said, "King, it's a majestic highway, it's a beautiful highway, well use of our tax dollars. Except there was this big pile of rocks and debris that held everybody back. So other than that big pile of rocks and debris, great highway." Well, as the sun was setting, the last lone traveler completed the journey, tired, wearily, but with great respect. He approached the king and he said, "King, I was traveling down your highway today, and I noticed there was a big pile of rocks and debris that held everybody back. And I stopped to clear it out of the way. And underneath it all, I found this bag of gold. And I want you to return it to its rightful owner." The man looked at the old man. The king looked at the old man and said, "It's yours." The old man said, "But I've never known such wealth." The king said to the old man, "It's yours, for you won the prize. Because he or she who makes it easier for those who will follow." How many of us would have just walked on by? But the old man cleared it out of the way and won the prize. So what will be said of us 5, 10, 15 years from now? Will all of our selfish acts be quickly forgotten? Or will we be remembered that we made a difference? We made a difference for those who followed us. The world needs us more than ever before. We're a more selfish society than ever before. So I challenge you today to be more selfish, be more elfish, and also accept the challenge, accept the promise, the challenge, the promise to live. When times are tough and you don't know what to do, call 988. Reach out to a friend. Reach out to a family. It was Saturday. Brandy and I text. It's just, I saw a post. She just said, "How you doing?" I said, "How you doing?" Be there for people. Even if it just says, "You good? You good?" Send out more "you goods" with a question mark and mean it. I don't send it out frivolously. If I get a hit, I've tried to reduce the time from when I get a hit about somebody and I take action. I don't want there to be a nanosecond. I don't want to squelch the emotion. If you're prompted to act, text. "You good?" Show up at their house, whatever it takes, but be there for people. It's not having all the answers. It's just showing up is 99% of the challenge. So just be present. So change your diet. Change what you say to yourself. Be more positive. Be grateful. We should be the happiest people on earth, and we're the most depressed. Yeah, we have the most. Maybe that's the problem because you qualify to be on Hoarders. That's going to be one hell of an estate sale when you go. And third, serve. because that's love in action. And I promise you, as you do that, you will fulfill the missions for which you were created. Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful to be here and have loved the messages already shared, and it has already felt like a reunion. I have hugged people that I've known for a long time, and I am a hugger by nature, and because we might not have time for that, I wore this large flower that is like my virtual hug to all of you. But if you would fist bump, hug, or hold hands with someone next to you, I know we're sitting in like classroom desks right now, and you get extra points if you do that with someone you didn't know before you came today. I love that. I think that post-COVID, we've learned that we need connection. 2 years ago, I think it was my 17th book was published in it. It was called The Stewardship Principle. If you've read it, then you're already up to speed. If you haven't and you don't know what I'm talking about, every single one of you has a list of stewardships. One of my stewardships is I have the weirdest name on the planet. It's true. Ganel-Lyn. No one has it, which is great when you need a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or a LinkedIn account, because no one has it. And it's also great if people are like, how can I find you? I say Google knows when you start to try to type my name in. It's like the lady that, why did her parents name her that? So that's one of my stewardships. I'm an author and speaker. I'm a mom of 2 adult kids. I've been married for 33 years. I have a diagnosis of lupus. I own a dog. I'm actually getting new cement poured right now, so this morning has been a lot of jackhammering. And 10 years ago, I lost my beautiful 40-year-old sister, Meg, to suicide. That is one of my stewardships. Many of you in this room have also joined this unfortunate club. And maybe you're here today because one of your stewardships is you're a business owner and you want to have mental health conversations more abundantly. Maybe you're here today because you're struggling with your mental health or love someone that is struggling. Or maybe like all of us, it's both. We all struggle and we all love someone that struggles. That's everyone on the planet. So these town halls could be all over the world in all different demographics and be filling stadiums because all of us have a mental health conversation that needs to happen. Meg, I'm the oldest. Who else is the oldest? If they would just listen to us. Am I right? I know, I'm bossy by nature. Meg was my little sister, but in my mind was my daughter, and oldest understand that. My mom also deals with mental health struggles, and so I had spent a lot of my life, and still do, worrying about the people that I love. Meg battled for most of her life. The last 5 years of her life were some of her best. But a few months before she passed, she fell into what I call the pit. And I had helped her out of that pit before, which kind of does a number in your head of being the savior and the fixer. And what I've come to know in the last 10 years after her passing is that we can love and invite and influence, which is why you're here, which is why we had a call of action from Brandy. We all have the opportunity to love, invite, and influence, but none of us are called to be the savior. And so what I've learned in the last 10 years is it's not helpful to ask why. I know what some of Meg's risk factors were. I think asking what risk factors are is a much more effective question to ask than why. Recently, just a month or so ago, in our community in Lehigh, we lost a 16-year-old boy to suicide. He was a student at Skyridge, and I was called within 24 hours to speak to a large community gathering. And all the parents and kids were vulnerable, and they wanted the answer, because in their minds, this kid, Michael, was the happy kid and didn't exhibit the signs. Can we just stop having that conversation? Can we just assume we all have risk factors? I know Meg's risk factors, but I also know she was awesome at playing basketball. Me, not so much. She loved a good road trip, and she loved a really good dance party. So I was in charge of her funeral. I hired a DJ. Isn't that what we normally do at a funeral? We served the funeral potatoes, and then the DJ set up, and all the older people were like, what are we doing? Said, we are having a dance party. And it's interesting, I have a sibling that had not really cried. And we're dancing to a really happy song, and she's sobbing. And she's like, why am I crying right now? And we're dancing to the happy song, literally. Do you remember Pharrell Williams' happy song? I said, because this is what Meg loved. So for me, suicide is one decision someone makes. It's not every decision they make, but it changes your other decisions. And I think it's really important, especially with our teens, when their frontal cortexes are not fully developed, to talk to them about some decisions have consequences that are harder to come back from. And so in this situation, I just want you to know all the books, all the speaking, all the shows, all the TV, all the radio, all of these kinds of gatherings the last 10 years, my life's not better without Meg. She's my partner, and in telling her story all over the world, I've been able to have really sacred and sensitive conversations with every kind of person you can think of, because mental health covers all of us. One of the other things I would love to say to you is that we won't be better without you. And I love Promise to Live and the action step of making a decision before you need to make the decision. And for some of you here today, that's an exhausting stewardship. One of your stewardships is maybe chronic depression, anxiety, OCD, addiction. Maybe many of you have experienced situational moments where you've been struggling. And wherever we're at on the mental health spectrum, every day I have to wake up, and in the last 10 years I've learned I have to ask, where is my mental health today? We post all the time about the favorite show, the new restaurant, which our food person left, but I'm checking that one out. We post about all those things. What I want to invite you to do today is to understand that therapy is education, and no one's embarrassed about more education, especially within the Silicon Slopes community. As business owners and educators and civic leaders and corporate leaders, we should be bragging about whatever we have chosen to do to support our mental health and posting about it. I've learned in the last 10 years that hope is not a feeling, it's a plan B. It's, as Brandy said, an action step. And for me, some days, it's plan C, D, E, F, all the way to Z, starting the alphabet again. And what I've learned is that for Meg, she got tired. So to answer the why question that I invited you not to ask, the simplest answer is pain control and exhaustion when someone makes a choice of suicide. It's not about being selfish. It's not about whatever we want to tell ourselves to control the vulnerability. It's about exhaustion of the soul. And so I invite you to consider that hope for each of us is a plan B, a C, a D, all the way through the alphabet and starting again. And that therapy is now a really big umbrella. From 10 years ago, therapy was very traditional. When we said therapy, we thought, I'm sitting on the proverbial couch talking about my feelings. But we have so many more modalities now, and that's really good news. In Lehi, Utah, we have a great brand new facility that is like none on the planet for children and their families to get mental health support. Post-COVID, we have online tools that we didn't have before. You don't even need to get a babysitter. You don't even need to clear your schedule. You just go take lunch in your car on your phone and get therapy. That's good news. Are we still losing too many people? Yes. But there's a lot in the last decade that I feel like we can celebrate. We are normalizing conversations. We are having town hall meetings. 10 years ago, we weren't having them. And so I want to invite you to consider how you can normalize mental health conversations. Sometimes we only have it when there's a headline, when we hear about someone we lost at school or at work. In our family, we try to make it just as a part of everything that we do, because my mental health is every day. It's normal to have hard days, confusing days, days. So I'm going to invite you to start a mental health check-in text with your loved ones, especially your teens, your college-age kids, your coworkers, whoever you want to. And I want to just add to what Kaz shared about checking in, are you good? Start the text with, I would love to know how you're doing. You can only answer with an emoji. How many emojis are there? There's emojis for every animal and really inappropriate things and really confusing things. And it's not just happy, sad, or mad. When we give a check-in and we give permission to just use an emoji, you're going to get people that don't have words for feelings responding back. And we're going to start normalizing those kinds of conversations on the regular. My husband is going to be the new CEO of Granger Medical in about a month. And as he's gotten some support the last 6 months for this build up to this position, I've invited him to get support. And he's gotten support. And I've invited him to go as an executive and talk about the support he's getting for his mental health with this big transition. Because men in this room, when you talk about your mental health, when you say you went to therapy that day and how it helped you feel, when you admit that you're struggling, it ripples into your families and your communities and your work environments in powerful ways. Women, we aren't off the hook. We get to celebrate when people around us are getting help, but we also need to make permission time for our own support, and that changes. I'm a new empty nester, and this last year has been a really big identity shift time for me. And I've needed different tools in my toolbox. I've dug into the toolbox, and all those mental health tools I've accumulated for 10 years, some of the days, they don't work. And that's when it's my responsibility to do the hope plan B, C, D, and text someone and say, I'm struggling. I've forgotten the words to the song of my soul. Can you sing them back to me? That doesn't need to be a big list. If you got 3 people on the list, that's awesome. If you've got 5, even better. Because the first 2 you're going to talk yourself out of, right? They're just going through divorce. They've been sick. Then you're going to text number 3. They might not respond. That's why you need a 4 and a 5. So if you can find 5 of your SOS friends, text them now. Tell them you just heard the lady with the huge hug flower on her dress with the weirdest name. You can call me G, it's my gang name. And say, I'm willing to be your SOS friend. Will you be mine? Because just like Brandy said, when we make that decision before we need it, then we're most likely to use it when we do need it. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful for my Meg. I'm grateful that if she was here, she would tell you to stay in your body, that we would not be better without you. I'm not better without her, and I'm grateful for her story and the conversations I've been able to have in the last decade. And thank you for having those conversations today and tomorrow until we're done with all the conversations. Thank you.
First of all, thank you, Brandy, and thank you to everyone else for the 3 of you who've spoken. And thank you for being here and for the good that you're doing in the communities. I'm Jason Walton, and yes, it's true that I'm running for political office, but I'm actually an entrepreneur. How many, I'd like to know a bit more about everyone here. How many of you are entrepreneurs? Okay, yeah, so Silicon Slope. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a family of pest control companies, and I live just right here in Provo. My wife and I started them, and it's been quite the adventure. My wife actually just landed. Since I was sitting there, she texted me and she said, try to be genuine, and then don't be overly emotional. First of all, with our business, since we lost our Jessica, it's not a fair ask to ask me to talk about my daughter without being emotional. I don't. It's been 3 years, but I don't think that day will ever come. If I was going to be authentic, then you'd see a wailing like you've never seen before. That would be authentic. And I want to address that a little bit. So, first off, since there's so many entrepreneurs here, one thing that an organization that my wife and I and our family have chosen to be a part of is the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, AFSP. And they are the ones that fund and sponsor 988. And I'd recommend all of you who are entrepreneurs to reach out to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, AFSP. And because they have a lot of resources, not only for you and for people who are struggling, but they have great counseling that they can do for your businesses, for your employees. And I really, really strongly recommend that you have them come in and get involved at your places of work. It'd be a good thing for you and for the people that you love. Secondly, it's an honorable thing. Do you know right now when people call, I know, for example, like one of the local universities, that if a student there calls, one of the universities in Provo, and they call after 4 o'clock, the number that they're given to call If they call after 4, it goes to the police. I want you to think how bad that is. Think about that. People who are calling in desperation that they're about to take their own life, and it's going to go to a police. Think they're going to call for help again? No. No, they're not going to call for help again. That's why the 988 number is such a blessing and such a good thing. Secondly, I'm going to talk about this concept that I call well, first I'm going to say I think that human beings, and I've loved what everyone said here today, I believe that chair, that one, it fills the measure of its creation when it's sat in, preferably comfortably, but it holds its form. How does a human being fill a measure of creation? And I think that we fill our measure of creation, just my thoughts, when we're grateful, when we work hard, when we love others, and when we serve people. And I think that if we're missing any one of those elements, then we are robbing ourselves of joy. And I would invite you to give me your thoughts on that at some other time. I also want to talk about this concept that I call actually I heard a physicist talk about it, the never-ending now. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's an illusion. You just exist now. Sometimes that can be a painful experience, but it's all that we have. We have right now. We get to choose whatever we want to choose constantly. And what a beautiful blessing if we'll allow it to be. What's the best use of this 5 seconds? And now this 5 seconds, one after another after another. What can we do? What can we do to make the biggest difference and to best fill the measure of our creation? And hopefully that we realize that it's in loving others. I heard some great advice from the other panelists. Hopefully we'll find that that's in loving others. Last thing I want to talk about as I talk about my daughter, and this will be hard, is I want to tell you that like when she passed away, I've said this a lot, it was like a grenade going off in my soul. But it's not once, it's constant. It's part of my forever now. I made a post that I've since, I don't think it's available, but the post I made, it had millions of views and a lot of and thousands, tens of thousands of comments. And a lot of the comments were negative. And all I said was, I was trying to tell people who were struggling, there is a lie that my daughter Jessica believed that I think a lot of people believe, and that is that if I'm gone, people's lives will be better. They'll be less of a burden. A lot of times people are struggling, they feel like they're burdening others. And that's a lie. The reason that was tough is because a lot of people and it pained me. A lot of people that commented said, I'm struggling and now you're giving me more guilt. And that made me feel terrible. But I still don't apologize for it because my point wasn't to try to give people guilt. The point was to give people truth. The point was to give people knowledge. That we all get to choose, make our own choices. But I promise you, the world's a worse place with you not in it. It's a much worse place. Have you ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan? Or any like films of like Normandy beaches? And you see, and I know this is kind of graphic, but you'll see like a soldier walking around who's just had a limb blown off, and they're looking for it, and then they find it, pick it up. I feel like that every morning. I feel like that every afternoon, and I feel like that every night. The truth is, I would trade that every day of my life to have my daughter back. just since won't ever be able to meet her. By the way, when she passed away, when we found out, I'm the member of the prevailing religion in this state. My only other daughter, my wife and I have 3 children. My only other daughter was her last day of her LDS mission, and she was driving to the airport to take a plane to come home, and I called her on our way to the airport and had to tell her, your only sister is gone. And then we had to pick her up at an airport. And I say that because I feel like when I'm asked to talk here, I feel like I'm a surgeon that's in the middle of being operated on while I'm trying to teach people surgery. So I am very much, as you can tell, and I don't think this will be different in 10 or 15 years. I'm very much struggling. And I don't apologize for that because it's how deeply I love my daughter. And our relationship was phenomenal. Jessica was brilliant. She was beautiful. She was unbelievably intelligent. Jessica did not study, I don't think, for the ACT. She didn't finish it. And she got a 34 and she was angry. Her freshman year of high school, we went in and we went to her English class, and her English teacher said, "Hey, are Jessica Walton's parents here? Can you stay afterwards?" I said, "Sure." And it was the top high school in the state. And she said, "Your daughter is brilliant. She's further ahead than most people when they graduate from college. Please encourage her to stay with English because she has a rare talent that I don't think I've seen as a teacher." We then went to chemistry, and I'm not joking, the exact same thing happened. The chemistry teacher said, "Are Jessica Walton's parents here?" Kept us afterwards, said she's more advanced in her problem solving and how she thinks than people even when they're at the collegiate level. She has a gift and something to give to the world. My daughter left us when she was 23. Today she'd be 26. And I just want to share with you again, the world is a much worse place without her. But here we are in the never ending now. And so I, like you, have the opportunity to choose what I want to do with my life and with my reality 5 seconds at a time. And I choose to be here. I choose to be with you. I choose to live. I promise to live. I choose to try to help other people. And let me tell you something I've done in my business that I would recommend that you do as business owners. I like to, once a year, take a group of people, and we go to an assisted living center. I don't tell them why we're going there. And I say, "Let's go meet some friends. We're going to be here an hour and a half, and then you tell me how it went." We do that, and we go home. We go back to the office. "Who did you meet? What did you talk about?" And what they always say is they'll say, they talked about their family. And I said, "Who wished that they worked more?" Did anyone hear that from anyone? Did anyone hear that they wish that they made more money, that they bought another house, that they had a bigger home, that they had more property? In all the years that I've been doing that, no one has ever heard that. And as part of the never ending out, this whole concept of gathering and materialism and spending our time on that is a lie, because we're all headed for the assisted living center. What we have are each other. We have one conversation at a time. We have the never ending now. Let's not waste it. In closing, I'm going to share a poem that my daughter wrote. It's actually on her headstone that's here in Highland City Cemetery. It's called Beyond the Horizon by Jessica Walton. "Look upon the ocean, cobalt sea expanding west. See lapis waters bounded by skies endless celeste. Circumference determines, eyes only see so far, but waters flow and flourish away from where we are. Reality is limited by observation's powers. Eternal realms elude us during our mortal hours. So though she now inhabits a place I cannot see, I think her soul is flowing beyond mortality." Thank you for being here. Let's promise to live, and please let's make a deep commitment to not forget that it's about doing good. It's about loving others. Thank you.
Wow, that was very powerful. Thank you all. Thank you for sharing so much. I've been impressed with just a few thoughts as I sat over here and listened to each one of them. One thing I learned from AFSP, we did a lot of work. We team up with the Suicide Prevention Coalition. Taryn told me, she was the executive director. She said, "When I was going through this the first time with my daughter, I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed, the fear, the stigma. I thought, I must be such a horrible mother that my own daughter would rather be dead. My friends, my coworkers, my colleagues are going to think that I must be a horrible person who's absent. Whatever it is, it's the lies we tell ourselves. It's the stigma. It's not true, right? And it's hard to understand, too, because you look at them and you go, gosh, I've given you a good life. I've loved you. I've been there. We're here. You have everything. And she said to me, Taryn said, somebody who struggles with mental health, this put things into perspective for me. She said, the people who jumped off the Twin Towers died by suicide. We don't question their motives. We don't hold that in shame. We don't feel responsible. They felt the heat, the fire, the pain. They thought it was their only option. Their reality in that moment was so heavy and hot and hard to bear that they thought jumping was the only thing they could do. Sometimes those we love feel that same invisible heat and pain and struggle that we can't see and we can't feel because it's not ours to bear. That doesn't mean Jason's not an incredible father, or that Ganel-Lyn wasn't an amazing sister, or that Kaz is not loved, or that your mom did not love you, or that my daughter thinks that I'm horrible. It means they're dealing with the invisible heat and pain where they feel that that's the only option. But we're here having these conversations today because we know it's not. We know there's something we can do. We know that we can get them through those moments. And so we're working on some campaigns like 9 minutes and 88 seconds. My friend who checked himself into the mental facility this week, he said, you know, I don't want to make you guys feel bad, but I reached out to a lot of you, and you weren't there. I didn't say I was struggling. I just said, hey, can we talk? Do you want to go to lunch? Signs are not enough. People come to me all the time and they say, hey, I got kids, I've got family, what should I be looking for? I'm not a mind reader. Neither are you. Don't look for signs. Go to the person and say, are you struggling? Have you thought about suicide? And by the way, there are people in this room who've lost multiple people. When my daughter was there and we almost lost her, my other daughter said, Mom, if she would have gone, I would have gone. And I said, if you were gone, how could I do this? The rate of suicides within a family or group or school goes up significantly once we lose someone. So now more than ever, we've got to work with your kids. We've got to work with our family members because the risk is so much higher. But you guys are here. There are times, there are seconds. So if you are struggling, don't leave breadcrumbs. Don't leave clues. Reach out and say, I need 8 minutes of your time. I need 9 minutes of your time. I need help. Or if somebody reaches out and you say, are you good? These are the important things. We have some things coming up that I really want to ask you guys to get involved with. We're launching, it's such a blessing, we have a TV show that we're going to be doing, a national TV show reaching 30 to 40 million households a week. This starts in July, third quarter. We can put these messages of hope. We can put these stories of resources, of hope, of help, of healing, and you guys can be part of this. So here's what I'm asking from you today. We need these heartfelt stories. We need community engagement. We need helping people in the community. So we have pay it forward segments. We have our resources. Our mission, my mission has been for the last 3 years, is to provide hope, help, healing, and resources to people wherever they are through the devices, platforms, and people they know, follow, and trust. Suicide rate's gone up 71% since 2010 in youth. Are they going to tune into NBC at 7 p.m. on a Saturday to watch a show? Nope. But will they listen to who the influencer is playing their stuff? So we need influencers, we need CEOs, we need companies, we need sponsorship for the show. We have a big event, so mark your calendar right now. Mark your calendar for August 24th. We're doing Race to Save out at the Utah Motorsports Complex. It's a big free event. It's a end of summer back to school bash. We want connection. Connection cures a lot of things. Getting together, having community, having each other's backs. We're gonna have a car show. We're gonna have hot laps. We're gonna do all kinds of really amazing things out there. Music, food trucks, monster trucks. We want this to be free for the community because we know times are tough and the economy has been kind of bad. So we're looking for partners to help bring in that. And we want people to be there to share, so companies to share and have booths and different things. So mark your calendar for August 24th. And then we're doing our global live stream, September 10th at the iconic Avalon Theater in Hollywood, where we bring hope to millions across the globe. And we want your support. So please reach out to any of us to get involved in this. Please text me, that's my phone number on there. Email us, figure out how you can be part of the solution. Again, it's about action and accountability. It's about making that promise. It's about sharing that promise. It's about providing the tools and the resources so that we can do this. We're almost out of time. I would say we have maybe 5 minutes for if anyone has a question for our panelists, I would be willing to open that up right now. Is there anyone who has a question that you would like answered or a thought?
May I make a comment?
You may. Mic up.
I hear a lot of people say, what are the signs? And then I hear a lot of what you said. When I had my experience in the summer of 2009, you would have never guessed.
And by experience, we almost lost cause. This is one of the most vibrant.
So don't look for someone who's depressed, please. It might be that guy who acts like Robin Williams that's hurting the most.
Or Twitch.
Or Twitch or anybody else. So just don't look for depressed people. That's not just the sign. Ask questions.
And I would like to ask the panelists, you guys have been through this. Sometimes it's hard for us to know. What do you do? What do you say? Is it okay? Like Sam, I mean, do you want people to ask you how you're doing? Do you want people to ask you to share your story? Do you feel comfortable in doing that? Or what brings you peace in all of this? Because I know sometimes we go, oh gosh, I don't want to make him sad. I don't want to bring it up. So is this something we should or shouldn't do in your opinion for you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I called you that.
That's okay. It's Jason. But I'll answer wherever you want to call me. So
Forgive me.
I'm just happy to be here. So the answer to that question is, yeah, I think that asking about my daughter Jessica is always going to make me happy. I love talking about her. Oh yeah, I think it's great. And I'm not going to speak for everybody else that have been through this, but I think that for most of my friends who are unfortunately in my club, they like it as well. So here's some things that I would say maybe don't do universally. Don't say, how did she die? That's not, I mean, when you already know she took her own life. Don't say, my daughter died just before Christmas. And so people said, what was Christmas morning like? Had you wrapped her gifts?
Wow.
As a matter of fact, we had. So don't say things like, well, it's got to feel good that at least you probably sit and think you wouldn't do anything differently. Yeah, I'm sorry, what? Make sure let's not change everything because December 17th is coming and we have a death by suicide scheduled. So the guilt that's associated by family members is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And so it's the best things to say are to ask just questions like, tell me about Jessica. Or, hey, there's a memory that I had with Jessica that I'd like to share with you. Or sending photos of Jessica. We don't have any more real things, so photos are great. We love to talk about Jessica. Everyone in our family loves it. We like it when people ask about Jessica. So to me, those things are great. Asking detailed questions about how she passed away or asking, sometimes making overly religious comments, no matter what your faith is, I wouldn't go in that direction. I would just say, I'm so sorry. Would you like to talk about it? I love you.
Yeah.
Going beyond that, you may actually be putting a dagger in someone when you're trying to give them a hug.
I appreciate that. I know you have a thought. I just want to share one quick thing. I read something this week that said, anyone who's grieving, don't ever start anything with at least or just. well, at least you know about heaven. Well, at least you had it. No, that's not helpful.
So just to kind of maybe exclamation point what you've shared and what Kaz shared, I think the what if question goes forever and ever and ever and ever. So it's the never ending door that opens the next door that opens the next door. The day we placed my sister's headstone was the day Robin Williams was found. And I remember thinking globally everyone had the same grief happening because everyone knew Robin Williams and he was the happy guy. And so there was this moment where there is a unique grief to suicide. I have lost 2 sisters. I lost a baby sister when I was 10, so both my sisters are buried by each other. That is a different kind of grief. Suicide grief creates a what if for communities and families. And I really love the perspective of my brother found my sister on my mom's birthday. So my sister's headstone has my mom's birthday on it, even though she had been gone for a few days. And so there's a lot of like these moments where there's this anniversary, but it's for me every random Wednesday, you know? It's like random shopping and new happy moments that I'm grieving because someone's not here. But I will say, I love the opportunity. I still hear stories all the time. I loved how Meg did this, or I love this about Meg, or I remember doing this with Meg. I love that. But I do think it's really, really crucial that we understand that when we say the what ifs and the whys aren't helpful, it's that every single one of us has a risk factor list. I know why Meg struggled more. I know what some of her risk factors are, but some of you in this room have the same list, and you're still here, right? And so what I would just say is suicide prevention and mental health is a really complex conversation. It deserves complex conversations. I think what's unhelpful is when we simplify. And so I'm willing to be the person to talk about it forever. And within any religious community, I've spoken in many different religions in their churches, not just my own, about Meg. And that is because I meet people all the time that still believe that their loved one that died by suicide is forever damned. So I know this is not a religious setting, but regardless of your denomination, that's just not what I believe is true. And I think it's really unhelpful. I meet agnostics and atheists that are still worried about that. They don't even believe in a God, and they're worried about their loved one 20 years ago that died. And that's perpetuating pain. And so whatever we can do to minimize pain and neutralize pain and process our own pain, that's what we're all responsible for doing. And telling Meg's story for me isn't painful. What's painful for me is to ignore, to pretend, to push it down. That's way more painful. And not everyone's comfortable with that. There is a lot of shame triggers around suicide, and I really appreciated Jennifer saying, like, this was a really complex pain that as a little kid, how do you describe how someone that you love that's supposed to be taking care of you has died? It's an ugly word. No one wants to talk about it. But the more we talk about it, and this is my last point, I often hear in communities that if we talk about it, it's causing it more. That is absolutely not what the research shows. Let me just say this statistically. Japan has the highest rate per country. They don't have any conversations around mental health. So us talking today is not increasing it. If not talking about it decreased it, Japan should be 0 across the board. So I just want to statistically kind of knock that out of the park. All the research shows the opposite, that when we have these conversations, because it's complex, we actually are neutralizing it. Sorry, I get a little preachy. A little
That's why we
preachy.
love you for who you are. I mean, I just say that if you've experienced somebody in your life who has taken their own life, don't try to figure it out. I look back and I don't even know that guy from 2009. I really don't. But I've never heard it said the way you just did about there you are on the top of the World Trade Center and the world is burning around you and there you go. There's nothing like being hopeless. And unless you've been to the depths of hell and you know what it's like to be on top of that World Trade Center that's burning and collapsing, don't judge. Because it's unique for each one of those people. I know some of you in this room, and I know your stories. You've been there too. And I don't judge you. Because it is hell. It's a mental torment that we cannot even explain to somebody else. And so it is unique for each one of us. So love those people more than ever. And don't try to figure it out and say, well, that didn't make any sense. But he had this and she had that. Yeah, but that didn't matter. So don't judge, just love, and we'll all do better. Thank you.
I love that. And I think that another important thing is you can't love it out of somebody. I think we've all tried to love them. You know, people who are struggling, it's like, but I love you, and I'm here for you. It's not about you. I've shared this story last night at the conference. I was at work, and I had a guy who was very salty. He was very confrontational. The new guy, he comes, he's being a jerk to everybody. And I got so mad, and I was walking over to give him a piece of my mind, because I'm like, who is this guy? What is his problem? And as I'm marching over there to say, what's your problem? Why are you treating everybody like this? What's going on? I felt this spirit of emotion, and I paused, and instead of saying, Mike, what's your problem? I said, Mike, are you okay? And the tears welled up in his eyes, and he said, no, actually, I'm not okay. Today's the anniversary of my wife's death. And I have 3 little kids, and it was really hard this morning because they were struggling without their mom. And I said, I'm so sorry. And he started to cry, and I just stood there and hugged him. The way people treat you has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of what they are going through. You can't love somebody out of mental health crisis or struggles. It's not our fault. There is no shame. Only the people at the top of the burning building feel that. Nothing we can do or say can take that away from them. If it could, we would carry that. We would take it. But what we can do is change our diet, have the conversations, reach out, lead with love, choose kindness, give grace. Everybody you know is dealing with something, so choose kindness, give grace, and lead with love every day of every minute. You will never regret that. Somebody had something? Yeah.
I had a very dear friend recently pass away. He took his own life. Right before he died, I'd asked him how he was doing, and he told me everything was fine. We'd been friends for 30 years, so one of my oldest friends. And the realization I had when I spoke at his funeral was the invitation to say, ask for help until you get help. It's like if you fall off the ship, you can't call for help once. You call until somebody pays attention and throws you a life ring. And so the promises that we have made with others, I'm actually chatting with the gentleman right now who had suicidal thoughts Wednesday, and we're talking about what to do about it. And I'm inviting him to make a promise, and he's agreed to do the promise. So thank you for that. But it's, I think it's so important to give people permission to ask for help until they get it. It's often misunderstood in so many ways, and not even just on suicide, but just keep asking, right? Keep asking until somebody or something rings, because there's somebody out there who cares. Someone will respond.
But again, you don't need to know what to say, right? Like I said, showing up is 99% of it. Even if you're just there holding their hand. And in today's busy world, people don't make time for each other anymore because they think there's some ulterior motive. Some of us love people because we love people, and we'll be there without ulterior motives.
And I think just to piggyback on that, I think that is one thing that we put such pressure on ourselves, because when we know someone who has lost someone, especially by suicide, I want to say something to you that will make it better. I think people put that pressure, and so we either say something really dumb or inappropriate, or we don't say anything at all and think, well, I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to say anything. And for those of us who may be religious or believe in a higher power, how do we bring that God source into our life? We talk about it. We tell stories about it. We share with each other. It's part of our life, and we share with one another who that person is. So sharing the stories, the memories, it's one of the best things, because on either side, if you are either struggling with mental wellness or you have been, had someone in your life who has killed themselves, the common denominator is talking. We need to talk about our feelings. We need to learn to talk about it and know it's okay, because everyone in the world, even though when we're going through that, we feel so isolated, yet we all have emotions. We all experience down times. We all experience severe depression. And if we just learn to have the conversation, learned how to have it. And even just saying, I don't know what to say. I know you are struggling with the hardest thing in your life right now, and I don't know what to say, and I want to take the pain away, but I will sit with you. Let me sit with you. Let me hold your hand. Can I go to the grocery store? Can I mow your lawn?
Chocolate.
What can I do? Food,
Yes.
chocolate. What
Put that
is
in your
it?
diet.
How can I help you in this moment? Because it doesn't matter what you say, you won't be able to take the pain away. But you can, like you said, give love.
Just
Never
be
anything
there.
you say.
Ask, acknowledge, support, keep in touch. I want to thank all of you for being here. I would also like to acknowledge the Promise to Live advisory team. Would all the members please stand up of our team? I want you to take a look around at all these amazing individuals. They're on our team. They're here to support, answer questions. We want your support. If you want to get involved in what we're doing, from the community events, the pocket hug and letter writing project, this has been so impactful. You can bring it into your business. We're doing a lunch and learn with Entrada next week. We're happy to come and share. Excuse me. But we want you to join us. So make sure before you leave on the way out, you grab your pocket hug. You can get a bracelet, talk to us, talk to Sean right here.
And a real hug from Adam.
He'll take your information, because we need you. We need you, we need you to be here. But also, if you want to join us, please join us and take this back. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to our panelists again. Please give them a round of applause. And mark your calendar for June 13th. It's our next town hall. So we'll see you back here June 13th. Thank you.
Brandy.